Welcome to the first Demarcation Media model kit review, or Transformers review, whichever way you want to look at it. Technically, I have done one other video on model kits, but it was the USA Gundam Store like mystery box. But today we're going to be looking at a model kit. We're actually going to be putting the whole thing together and looking at the final product. This is the Flame Toys Optimus Prime, or specifically the G1 Optimus Prime, or Furai, if that's how you want to put it. That's like their sub brand. So I have a YOLO Park Optimus Prime coming in the mail. Planning on reviewing him. That was going to be the one Optimus Prime that I was going to review. However, Joko over in the Discord servers informed me of Hobby Lobby's 40% on box model kits sale, which put this guy from the rather painful 45 to 27, and I couldn't resist. So here we go. We have the Optimus Prime. I would like to take a look at just this guy in this video, but once I have the YOLO Park Prime, I would really like to get the two of them on screen together and see which one is kind of the best version. So I built plenty of Gundam kits. There's some over here, actually. We're at my work desk today because we're going to be starting on this kit. So I built plenty of Gundams. I know how they work. They're a lot of fun, especially the high grades. I love customizing them. It's really fun. Flame Toys never tried one of their kits. They are real big into the Transformers stuff. They've got a fairly large lineup. So I'm curious to see how it stacks up to Bandai's constant successes. So on the front of the box, we can see Prime all weathered up, battle damaged, looking very imposing. Got authentic Transformers, little thing up here. Flame Toys, Furai, specifically says G1 version. The packaging is pretty sleek. We get another view of Prime's face there. And then around the back, we get all of the details. This is what he looks like without the paint, or without the extra weathering. I do plan on weathering him, but that will be probably for a separate video. So yeah, you get all the looks at all this stuff, the runners there. So let's go ahead and get this open. I do have some tools here. X-Acto knife. This is fairly important for putting together models like this. Nippers. These are specifically the USA Gundam Store nippers. They're fairly expensive. I think this pair was like 30 bucks. However, I have beat the crap out of these things, cut stuff way too thick for these to be cutting, that sort of thing for kit bashes. They're holding together so well. Definitely worth the money. This is a metal nail file. It's a pretty good thing to have. And then this is more of one of those board nail files. So all of those are some things that you should have on hand for kits like this. And let's get this open. Just gonna slit the plastic here. Gundam kits don't often come wrapped like this. They'll come with a couple strips of plastic keeping the box shut. Toss that off to the side. Okay, so now we can get this open. Actually, let me raise my tripod up a little bit. There we go. Nice view from above. Let's go ahead and get this open. Come on. Come on. Alrighty. Whoa. Okay, those are some cool instructions. Look at that. It looks like a comic book cover or something. Very anime proportions. Oh, look at that. Okay. And then we've got all of our runners. Our dark grays. Light grays. Got some blues. And if you've never built a model kit before, or at least not one as in-depth as this, I would say don't overthink it. It's not really that hard. It may look difficult, but typically these instructions are pretty easy to follow. the good model kits anyway have pretty easy to follow instructions, and it may look intimidating, but it's really not. Got all the blue. Ooh, Optimus is going to be a chunky boy. He's got some large pieces. This is, looks like some joints, and then our clear effect parts. Got these slightly goofy looking Energon axe. That's kind of odd. This is his chest windows as well as his eyes, which is pretty cool. And yeah, this is like a soft polycap runner. This is fairly standard for model kits of this size. And here's all the red. Whoa, that's color separated? Okay, I was not expecting that. Got our yellow. Oh, yep, there's the arrows. I was not quite expecting that at all. Got part of his chest, got his back plate. Looks pretty nice. Now I want to open up the instructions. Oh, we've got some stickers here. Autobot symbols and some orange lights. For the most part though, the color separation is looking pretty solid. Let's take a quick look at the instructions, and then I'm going to get to building this guy. We'll leave that in there for now. Oh, they even have the instructions in full color through the whole thing. Not all kits have that. Sometimes the Gundam kits will switch to black and white somewhere through, but yeah, this looks pretty easy. Again, it looks like a lot, especially if you're used to building Mega or Lego, but it's really not as difficult as it looks. Then you just pop them all together and pose them up. So really quick, again, in case you're new to these kits, because I know a lot of you guys are Mega fans and maybe not necessarily model kit fans, or if you're a Transformers fan, you might have just bought the normal Transformers figures, that sort of thing. So this is kind of how you get the things off, and also how you assemble it. So up here, you'll see the runner has a number. This is A1, you can see up there. And then each piece also has a number. So this would be 9. So we're going to cut out A1, 9 real quick. And this is the best way to do it. So take your nippers, flat side, cut it so that there's excess, like that. It'll look really ugly at first. So now it falls off. And then you have the piece here with this extra junk on it. So what we're going to do is we are then going to take these, cut it more flush, like so. But there's still a little bit on there. So now what we're going to do, my camera will focus, that is. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we are going to just take this, and then we are going to shave off the excess with the hobby knife. And then we are good to go. You got to be careful because you can cut too far down. I've done that many times, and you probably will do that a few times. But the great thing about model kits is that you can customize them and modify them, and mistakes like cutting too deep on the plastic can be easily turned into battle damage. And then you can get something that looks like this. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and build this. I'm very curious. I really haven't had a Transformers figure in like 10 or 12 years, maybe more. So I'm very curious to see how this guy turns out. Alrighty, he is finished. This guy took me roughly one afternoon, so 3 to 4 hours to put together. There's a lot of good about this guy. There's a lot of bad. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of bad. There are a few things that make me rather annoyed with the figure. So not a lot of bad, just some very annoying things. And also the style is super, super anime. Like as anime as you can possibly get, which might not sit well with some people. So let's get in a little closer, and I guess we'll examine the accessories first, because there's a lot of them and there's also not a lot of them. What I mean by that is, in terms of unique accessories, we only get Prime's blaster, which is fairly simple. It looks pretty good mold-wise, like the detail on there is pretty good. However, There's just not much extra detail on it. And then we get his Energon axe, which is kind of goofy looking because it's based on the original, but it is molded in this nice translucent color, so that is pretty cool. And then we get hands. Lots and lots of hands. Basically, any pose you could want, we have a hand for it. So Prime right now has fists, just default fists on. And then we've got a pair of really anime splayed open hands. We have a pair of very anime pointing hands. And we have 2 trigger hands, which work by just sliding the hand on like that. That's pretty well done. And then we get these like grabbing hands, which can be used for a lot of different things. You can have Prime do the like Kamehameha thing. They suggest using these hands as a way for him to like use the matrix of leadership or whatever he's got in his chest. But yeah, they're just very useful hands. So in terms of accessories, I would say it feels like he's got everything he needs, but the price feels like he should have more. So let's take a look at the figure himself. I think the first thing that we need to establish is how big this guy is. He's a decent size, so let's bring in a mega figure, which honestly, that's almost feels like it could be to scale. Like, you could pose this Prime in with a mega scene, and I feel like it would work. It's still a little off. I think Prime is a little small compared to the mega figures, but I feel like it would work. There's a Lego figure. Here is a Black Series Clone Trooper. He's roughly the same height. And then the big one that I wanted to compare is a high-grade Gundam. This is the high-grade Gundam Breaker Battlelog Ground Gundam. And Prime is much taller than him. So if you're expecting a Gundam, you're going to be a little bit surprised by the size. And then just for kicks, here is Master Chief, because I feel like Master Chief and Optimus Prime would get along really well. Chief is about a head taller than Prime in this case, but hopefully that gives you a general scale. The thing I was most excited about was the fact that it looks like Mega figures could pose with him without looking too awkward. So that's pretty cool. In terms of his aesthetic, he is very simplified. He is very, very much like the original cartoon, which honestly I was confused as to why he didn't have any wheels. And I did a little research, and apparently in the original cartoon he didn't have any wheels. They would just kind of appear out of thin air when he transformed into a truck. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, for the most part, he looks pretty good straight built. The box shows him having a silver mask and whatnot, but you need to paint it to get that way. You don't need to really paint anything if you don't want to, though. Everything is color separated. This is all color separated parts. This in the forearm is color separated parts. I expected that to be a sticker, but it's not. The only sticker we've got on here is his shoulder, the Autobots emblem. You get 2 of those, so you can put 1 on each arm if you want to. The instructions suggest only putting 1, so that's what I did. His head, which can we get in a little closer? There we go. His head, the eyes are a separate piece too, so no stickers there. So color separation is really good. He just is very anime. I'm not a huge fan of the hyperextending knees for the full standing pose, but you don't have to pose him that way if you don't want to, and it doesn't look too terribly odd. Like if you do like that, you can get a decent straight leg pose. But yeah, for the most part, oh, and there's one of those annoying things. I'll talk about that in a minute. For the most part, his aesthetic is very clean, very sharp, and very anime, which if that's what you're looking for, then you really should look no further, because you'll be able to get past any of the annoyances if this guy checks all of the boxes in terms of looks. Now, let's talk about the articulation. The best way to start off is basically to ask, what can't he do? And there's really not much. He has a stupid amount of articulation. And like, I'm not kidding. So we we have the skirting here, and this is the most limiting section because these can fold up. These side ones can fold out to about here if Prime's torso isn't shoved all the way down on the ball joint. But yeah, you can kind of go to about there, which gives plenty of movement for the side, forward, full kick. The thing I don't like about this, and this is one of my annoyances, is that the skirting likes to separate, like the front and the back like to come off. And also there's just one peg attaching this one here, which means if you push forward on this, it can pop off. That's the whole skirting section is kind of annoying to me, but we can get a kick up. The bend at the knee is as good as you could possibly ask for. The ankles are fairly limited straight off the bat. You have forward and back. You get a little bit of rotation. You get rotation here, and you get a toe hinge. However, there's like this weird drop down that you can kind of access by wiggling, and like, there we go. You can see that. The problem is the heel section here is a separate piece plugged onto one peg hole, which means that when you're pulling, you're probably going to pull this piece off before the joint comes down. And then the other part is that when it's down this far, which obviously that looks ugly, but you can move it how you want to, the leg is loose, or the ankle is very loose, which means there's really nothing that can hold up his weight when it comes to the ankle. You can tighten it, but right out of the box, it's very loose. You can just kind of disappear that like that. This side has the same thing, but see, that's what happens when you try to pull it. So that joint isn't very useful, and I feel like it actually hinders his use as a whole because it makes it more loose. There's a swing forward for the legs, which I guess gives you a little bit more, but you still start catching the skirting armor, so I don't really see why that's useful. Fold that down. The arms have this much movement out, and then they can hinge forward, and there's even a little bit of detail in there, so it's not too ugly. There's a rotation here. He can bend, hyperextend his elbow a bit, bend to about there, which is good, and his wrists are kind of like a ball joint and then a secondary ball joint sort of thing. Upward, you can get it to go very far upward, and the pipes do move, so if you want to do that, you can do that on both sides. That's very Spider-Man-like posing. And then the head is a double ball, so you can do that all over the place. My annoyance here, though, is that with this head, you can see what the front of the neck is. It's not like the same on all sides, but as you're moving it, the neck will like rotate, and you'll end up with Prime's neck being sideways, and there's really no way to fix that without pulling the head off. There's nothing to keep the neck from rotating independently, and that's a little awkward to me. And then the torso, we get a crunch like that, and then back like that. And the cool thing here is that this piece moves too, so you can kind of shift that along with the torso to cover up some of the gaps. He's got a bit of a side to side, like so. And then lastly, he's got the opening doors, which, by the way, these blue glass pieces pop out so easily, and I highly recommend you glue them in. But there is the matrix of leadership inside there. This gray piece, while building, is an utter pain to get on. Highly recommend you glue it. Also, there goes the glass. Just like I said, it would. There's really nothing holding it in there, to be honest. Like, there's some pegs, kind of, but that's about it. So I'm going to have to put that back on. But yeah, you can do that if you want to. Looks like broken glass. So articulation-wise, you can get pretty much any pose you want out of this dude. There just are some fiddly bits that might make posing frustrating in some areas. There's Prime with his weapons. The gun looks pretty nice, honestly, in his hand. Needs panel lining, but I would say the entire figure needs panel lining. I also forgot to say the little lights up here on the chest, those do come with some bronze stickers to put on there. They look like a pain to apply, and honestly, all you need is a little bit of bronze paint and dab, 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 and you're done. But there is the axe. The axe can articulate in the hand a little bit, forward and back. Obviously, you can rotate it. It's super easy to swap the weapons and the hands for this dude, which is really a plus because a lot of times figures will have a hard time swapping hands. So that's pretty nice. And he looks pretty good holding these things all together. Well, there you have it. That is the Flame Toys G1 Optimus Prime. So I gotta say, as a figure, he's really fun. I know I kind of focus a lot on the annoying bits, but he is super fun to just grab and pose because you can get whatever pose you can think of, you can do it. Like it's just, he's just that good in terms of posability. You can outpose most Spider-Man minifigures with this guy. So that's a huge plus. And, you know, all the hands, I love the fact that he has so many hands. He's so expressive. So the posing with the hands, it's just so good. The thing that's not so good is the price. This guy costs $45 average. That is like his standard retail price. I really don't feel like it's worth it. So I got this guy on sale at Hobby Lobby for like $27. That feels worth it. It feels like a high grade Gundam. He goes together, not super complicated, pretty much like a high grade Gundam. The plastic quality feels a little harder. Maybe a better quality, but I'm not totally sure how it's going to age. We'll see. That's a longer term thing. But right now, it went together pretty smoothly. It feels good, but it's just not worth $45. You can go and buy yourself a master grade Gundam that is going to be a marvel of engineering, and it's going to be almost twice this guy's height for that. Like, that's 45 is just way too much. 30 maybe, 25 yeah, 27 yeah, 45 hurts. Like, this is, I just can't picture myself spending 45 on this. And actually, I have been eyeing this guy for a long time, like 2 years now. Haven't bought him because $45, and he really just didn't look worth $45. Maybe if he had more surface detail or something, but he is emulating the original show, so he doesn't have that much surface detail, and yeah, 45 is just too much. So if you enjoy the anime aesthetic of this, if you want an Optimus Prime that can pose like a Spider-Man, or if you just really like the G1 kind of modernized look here, definitely look into getting this guy, but get him on sale. Hobby Lobby, if you got one near you, often has like 40% off sales. So if you grab him then, I'd say it's worth it. Normally though, that 45 price tag really makes me go, I don't recommend you pay that much. It just doesn't feel worth it to me. So that's kind of the bottom line here. Hyper posable, very anime, but overpriced. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.